Good afternoon from Yami B TV, wishing you well, sending plenty of love your way on a gloomy day and a rainy day, but still hoping your day is going the best it possibly can so far. Now, I was traveling this morning to go and do an interview quite far away, alas, the train wasn't running. I will try again tomorrow. In the meantime, to pass the time, there's a much requested Dominic Noonan video coming up after this one. But first things first, all the speculation surrounding Kevin Lane's recall back to prison. Many people saying this, many people saying that. But there are a lot of you, keep forgetting when I do videos, that don't know how license conditions work and, you know, the conditions that you could be subject to whilst on supervision. When you leave prison, you have a risk management plan, because if you are on license, that means that you still you're doing your prison sentence on the outside. So basically, when these license conditions are set out in those pieces of paper that will be given to the prisoner when they are released, could be from 1 to 10 different points. What it means is, for places of you're not allowed to go, people you're not allowed to contact, change of address, change of venue, job changes, bank cards, whatever is stipulated in those conditions, if you break them as a prisoner who's outside serving the rest of his sentence, you could be recalled back to prison, right? So a man knows what he's allowed to do and what he isn't allowed to do, right? Now, in Kevin Lane's case, many of you draw reference, but it's a coincidence, Jamie, that he was on Tommy Robinson and blah, 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 blah. Yes, I have looked at that interview. Now, it wouldn't really be fair to blame Tommy Robinson for Kevin Lane's alleged breach of license, right? Or getting him recalled to prison. Kevin Lane's, as far as I know, his supervision and conditions that are set out on those pieces of paper do not stipulate that he isn't allowed to go on podcast and go and talking very familiar talk that he's spoke about many times before on other podcasts. So otherwise he wouldn't be able to go up there and talk. So that would be stipulated. He will know that he wouldn't be able to do that. Many of you are saying, but some things get said and some things always get said. Now, listen carefully. If there's an allegation from someone that in those conditions that are set out on that license, so they might be in that risk management plan, somewhere like that, they make an allegation against you. They could say, if there's a lot of haters out there, they might want to get rid of you. They could say, draw reference to what was said over there on that end. Well, you know, he said, you know, and probation will have to look at it and think, well, hold on, yeah, what was that? What, he did? He came? They said this and he said that and did. Okay, then I'll breach him. And, you know, that the things that are said on podcasts could probably be used against you on a parole hearing, but it wouldn't be the reason why he would have got recalled, because it's not stipulated on his conditions. Don't agree, but the only thing I don't really agree about, it said, Kevin allegedly said, make sure you edit certain things out. Tommy Robinson never, but he did say, it's not you saying it, it's me. Okay, I get all that, but there's a conflict of interest with the person you're talking about there and stipulated. Don't really agree with when a man can't defend himself. We've gone over that already, and he can't defend himself. He's not out here or whatever to go and do that. Right? It's the best way of putting it. So no matter which way, I mean, if you've got some kind of link to things surrounding that other person's yourself, and then you join for, yeah, well, I'll say it. You know, all fair and game in the podcast world. Everybody gets on with it. But no, Tommy Robinson would not be to blame for Kevin Lane going back to prison, right? We draw for pepsiwatson. He got recalled 4 years ago. He was languishing there, really suffering. You know, pepsiwatson was doing quite well when he came out. A story, you know, he was doing, you know, good things in the community, and he still can't manage to get out after all this time. There is an alleged a new charge or something small, but he's still suffering and he's out of his jurisdiction miles away. I wish I could get back in touch with him. I haven't spoke to him for a few months, but it's worth remembering people like pepsiwatson who are still not out years later. Sarahjanebaker did have a charge and got recalled, but she got not guilty on that charge, or the charge dismissed. She still can't get out. So the likelihood is these recalls take a long, long time. Hearing the legal team can prove that, you know, whatever's been suggested he wasn't there, blah, 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 blah. So that'd be for them, but still it can take time and he still would have to languish in there for, the likelihood, more than likely that he hasn't really done anything at all, which is the sad thing that we are speaking about. And speaking from experience, when my recalls happened, I have to be perfectly honest with you, it was the only 2 or 3 times in life when I got a sentence. Like normally if I get sentenced at the Crown Court, I take it, you buried me, I can deal with it. And I'll go back to prison and I'll do it my way, the way that I did. Not the best way to have done it, run about, misbehave, don't really care, I've got a release date, I'll get out. You're not, that my old way of thinking wasn't the right way to do it. But when you get recalled on that sentence, when you're released on license, because during those days, all my sentences, apart from the last 8, were 2/3 of, like, if you get a 12, you do 8, you do an 8, you do 5, 8 or 6, and then my last 8, you do 4, but I still got recalled on that and served all of that as well. But you come out and you come outside. When I first heard about the new license laws, because license on probation never used to be as strict as it is now. We know where it came from, the Sonics case, right? Where they changed the whole revamp of the whole system. So when I was serving that sentence in the Cat A's, I thought, well, I lost all my time. I've only got a couple of years left anyway. I can't be on it's not licensed. I didn't even know about hostels and MAPA and conditions on curfew, and you have to be back in at this time and that time and all that. So I was thinking I'll just do my time, go out, have somewhere to live and go and report to probation like I always did. I didn't read it properly, did I? So this is what happens. And then you come out, they said, no, you've got to stay in the hostel. You're on free curfews. You have to sign in at this stage and that stage and all that. You remember 2 of my recalls, the one at Carnival, because I was in Beckenham Hostel. 4 months I was there. They didn't even let my curfew go to 11 o'clock. There were some high-ranked criminals, bigger than me by nature of crimes and notoriety on the hour. And their conditions were better than mine because we knew that my behaviour wasn't too good in the case, and it looked like they were trying to get me back. So after 4 months, I went Carnival, stayed at the Funky House bit, was dancing down by Goulburn Road, down to Ladbroke Grove, and Mark Lambie was ringing me, said, "Yeah, you've got to come back. It's 8 o'clock." And I got stuck through the crowd, but I carried on dancing and all that. I thought that you'd only get 28 days recall, like you ain't committed another offence, you go back to prison, have a lie down, and then get back out. How wrong that I was. I got back the next morning, early hours. They had my kit packed. I walked across to the station. I thought Vicky was bringing me back. I said, it'll only be a month anyway. Don't worry about it. They breached me. Who gives a monkeys? They weren't giving me no time out. I was still on the strict condition curves. Wrong way to do it. When I got to prison, and I went in the office, I go, so when's my release date? When do I get out? Because it's an old sentence, and you still got your old sentence behaviour with 200 nickings from what you was released from by bad behaviour in prison. So you don't really feel, but listen, he said to me, no, it's not 28 days. You're subject to MAFA. You have to go in front of a parole board and you have a paper hearing first. And then if that gets refused, then you apply for an oral hearing, which means I'm sitting in front of a couple of people. And then it took months and months and months. Listen, for going Carnival, I stayed in prison 2 years. I'll never forget the feeling in reception when I was sitting there. I was in complete shock going back to prison because I hadn't committed a crime, and the feelings of being back in that reception area all alone. I've never felt so broken in all my life, right? I cried for nearly the whole of that 2 years because why? When you're on recall, you can't really misbehave, can you? Because you've got to sit in front of the parole board without any adjudications or any bad behaviours. Otherwise, they won't let you back out. So for those 2 years, I was swallowing things that I wouldn't normally swallow on before I came out before that because I didn't want to get nicked. And I thought, well, they're going to hold that against me, so I better behave. And then you go in front of the board and, there's no nickings, no bad behaviour. You can get back out. But it took 2 years, right? So that was the difference for me. And then imagine then getting out after that 2 years, and then the thing happened outside the Young Vic Theatre where they said a member of, somebody was in the Cat A's with me, he was a high-ranked member of Al-Qaeda, who happened to be walking past at the same time and was being followed by Mappa and the spooks. And he stops and sees me, Yummy, give me a hug and all that. Are you still on the dean, praying? Are you still into the religion that you was into in the category? No, I'm not really, to be honest. We all said, but they was following him. He had Miami Vice dark glasses. He was being, look, he's high ranked like that. So they say, right? But they watched him, they was following him and see when he hugged me, but they didn't know who was following him, who I was. So when they took the photograph, they sent the photo circulated through probation. Who's that man he's meeting there? Oh no, it come back up as Yami B. Probation, when I went for my normal appointment a week later, they said, is there anything you need to tell me, Yami? I said, tell me about what? Have you bumped into anyone lately? Bumped into anyone? Couple don't know. There's nothing in my conditions that says I'm not allowed to bump into anyone and talk to anyone. Yami, is there anyone? I said, no, I can't think of anything. A couple of days later, 5 days in show. You remember I've told somebody this story. They knocked on the hostel door, right, while I was getting ready to do the Young Vic show, and they said, listen, you're being breached. They knocked on the door. I said, listen, you got the wrong geezer. I haven't done anything. No. Why am I being recalled? No. We don't know. We'll tell you when you get to the police station. I said, you what? I goes, mate, you must have the wrong geezer. I was fuming. Oh, it was a horrible feeling. I had to get all the kit out of the hostel room because I knew what it meant from the first recall. Got to the police station. They said to me, your probation's going to explain it to all. I've never been so broken in my life with the recall situation. It's the worstest feeling when you haven't committed a crime and new laws apply, and it, it's quite clearly set out for the to protect the public and all that. I understand all that, but for me, you're asking me those 2 or 3 times were the weakest, most brokenest man that I've ever been throughout all my prison history. Did I need to clarify anything else? No. Coming up in a minute, the Dominic Noonan story. Loads of love to you all.